The internet is, to put it bluntly, absolutely horrifyingly massive. It's hard to visualize just how sprawling, how nebulous, how much pure information and technology is stocked in dark servers across the world. Do we even know what iCloud is? I don't know. It's even weirder when you learn that the internet is still extremely young. ARPANET, the earliest form of the internet, was created in 1983, and even then it was only for basic communication across chunky, high powered computers. It wasn't until 1991 that the World Wide Web was established for everyday use, making the modern internet as we know it only 33 years old. With my credentials of being horribly on the line for a concerning amount of my life, and the constant awareness of the ever-flowing, unstoppable current of time, I'd like to examine two series created on and for the internet that are centered around time, how they explore those themes, and what that says about the nature of the online experience. So come along. Come on. Join me. On November 15th, 2019, the YouTube channel Unus Annus, which is Latin for 1 year, posted its first video, explaining that one video would be uploaded every single day for a year, and then when that year was up, the channel and all of its content would be deleted. It was created by Markiplier and Ethan Nestor, two gaming creators who were burnt out from their regular content and wanted to get out of their comfort zones and experiment freely without worrying about YouTube's restrictive monetization and ad-appropriate guidelines. Memento Mori was their slogan, which is more Latin, meaning remember death or remember that you have to die. It was an exercise in futility, because what does it mean when people say that the internet is forever? Each video started and ended with a timer, starting from 365 days and going down with every upload. It was a constant reminder of the inevitable, with every video of the channel growing closer and closer to its expiration date. They kind of did everything. They did exactly what they wanted to do, get out of their comfort zones. The very first video after their intro was called Cooking with Sex Toys, which is exactly what they did. They did everything. They got naked several times on camera. They carbonated their pee and drank it. They drank their own pee. They did a pee sauna, don't ask. They simulated birth. They did a Viking funeral. They tried archery, acupuncture. They shopped for caskets. They did sensory deprivation tanks. They found a needle in a haystack. They went swimming in the ocean. The ocean is one of Mark's fears, so I think that's pretty cool. They kind of did everything. Like, everything. In those 365 days, which is kind of crazy. And then 2020 happened. More than anything, the pandemic affected the viewing experience more than the actual project. Mostly because I think people needed something to do and something to watch and something to look forward to in those times, because they did like internet online centered content for like 2 months, isolated, of course. As someone who watched it during the pandemic, it was like, even though it was going to end, and that was, drilled into us every single time, this is going to keep on going throughout this isn't going to stop. They didn't stop at all, of course, because that was their promise, and something to, keep you going during that, which was kind of fun. It was comforting and it was good. Unus Annus ended with a massive 12-hour live stream that culminated with the deletion of the channel. And as someone who was there for the whole 12 hours on Zoom with my online friend group, it was really emotional, okay? It was like a collective mourning for this experience made by people who we don't really know and who don't know us, that kind of meant everything to us during that year. I cried. I'm not afraid to say that I cried. When that channel deleted and when it went black, when the live stream went black, sobbing. Sobbing and crying and screaming. Because, it's like letting go of something. I think humans, it's hard for us to let go, even if it is, a little YouTube channel. And just like that, it was gone. Of course, there are compilations online that they kept up, and it's on Internet Archive. Of course, everything's on the Internet Archive. But the actual physical thing and all those moments are now only memories. In today's online landscape, trends change faster than the seasons now. Time marches on. Unus Annus, in its truest form, is lost media. Unus Annus is what I'd call the ephemeral internet. It's data rot, and broken links, and abandoned blogs, and Flash being discontinued, and the fragile, fickle nature of online life and actual life. And it was like a meditation on grief, because the whole thing, they were like, we're gonna die at the end of this. We're gonna die. And it's like, no, the channel's dying, but Mark and Ethan were like, no, we're gonna die. Which I think is really interesting because they kind of were gonna die. That part of them, that kind of experience would be gone, and they'll move on and there'll be new people after this having those experiences. So the ephemeral internet is one side of the spectrum. So how's about we go take a little trip to the complete opposite end of the spectrum? For this next series, I need you to stay with me for this, okay? Okay? You took my hand. I need you to trust me on this. On November 26th, 2015, three brothers, Justin, Travis, and Griffin McElroy, and the duo Tim Batt and Guy Montgomery would set in motion Till Death Do Us Blart, the first and only annual Eternal podcast. These five brave comedians swore that every single American Thanksgiving for the rest of their lives, they would watch and then discuss the 2014 movie Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Yup. This is real. Correct. I'm not making this up. This is real. But it goes even deeper, because every episode ends with each person nominating someone else who will take their place if they die before the next installment. So on and so forth until the end of linear time. Well, actually, every episode ends with their own catchphrase, which is, of course, from the movie Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, "Not today, death." I don't know if you've watched Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, but in my personal and professional opinion, it's not great. It's not what I would call peak cinema, you know? It was also not intended to be watched, like, more than twice, or, like, 1.5 times, even. So for their sanity and, you know, to keep things interesting, they make up lore like the Shadow Man, an omnipotent entity that is either Satan or God or something much more powerful than that, and is pulling the strings of the entire movie. In the 2023 episode, there's an analysis of a scene where Paul Blart fights a bird in a garden called the Garden of Contemplation, while the Shadow Man, who is a piano player, just serenades him as he fights this large African bird and doesn't say anything. And I'll just play that here.
I think that what the Shadow Man has done here is activated Paul Blart.
Correct.
Okay. I think that Paul Blart went to the Garden of Contemplation because he was like, I need courage for this speech. He went out there, he was challenged and almost killed, but he survived his ordeal,
He's
and
fueled
so
by
he's stronger
adrenaline.
and ready.
You will not.
I think Paul Blart is on death's door, and this is purgatory. And it is my belief that actually the bird is God. And I think that the pianist is the devil. Because the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. And my take was the bird that is attacking Paul Blart for no discernible reason is an Old Testament style God.
I think the bird is a manifestation of one's own guilt.
Yes.
Blart faces it and survives, ready to make amends. He is a different man from this point on, contrite and capable. Hank is incapable of facing his guilt, so egregious are his sins that he is killed by the bird. Is the bird the Egyptian goddess of judgment, Ma'at? Possibly. If that's the case, Paul is dead, and this is his journey through the Hall of Judgment, where his heart will be weighed against Ma'at's ostrich feather to see if he can ascend.
Yes.
Returning to this movie every year becomes a ritual, and every viewing is different because they're different people from the last watch 1 year ago. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 doesn't change, only they do. Paul Blart exists as a constant, unshaken point to reflect how they've grown from the last watch. Death Blart, as it's usually called, is probably one of my favorite projects ever of all time. It's so stupidly absurd while being horribly existential at the same time. They joke about what's going to happen when one of them does die and how the entire energy of the show will change. But it will happen, and the torch will be passed. Death Blart will outlive their creators, not just in memory, but in actuality. Death Blart will outlive us all. Theoretically, at least. Like I said, the internet is young, and we don't know what shape the internet will take. And like the internet, Death Blart is young too, having just celebrated their 10th episode. 10 years doing anything is a long time, but in the context and scale of the podcast, they've barely scratched the surface. Like, there's gonna be a Death Blart 2030 pretty soon. Like, Death Blart 2050, Death Blart 2065. That's gonna happen, for real, actually. This is the eternal internet. It's progress and the theoretical unknown of the future. At this rate, the internet isn't going away. So what will it look like in 20, 30, 50 years? It's now so ingrained into the fabric of humanity. It seems like people will be sharing cat videos and fighting with each other and creating art and falling in love online for as far as we can see. So, what does this all have to do with us, like, in the human context? Unus Annus is life after death, in the sense that after someone passes, life continues, and you should live like it's your last day on Earth. Till Death Do Us Blart is life after death, in the sense that after you pass away, life continues, the world keeps spinning, and it's what you leave behind and pass on to others that's your impact. I just think they're both really cool projects, and they make me very emotional. I never thought I would say that something related to Paul Blart Mall Cop would make me emotional, but it does. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on watching every single episode, every single American Thanksgiving. I'm Canadian. I don't even care about American Thanksgiving. Like, I'm not, oh, it's American Thanksgiving. It's Death Blart Day. Yeah. It was the same feeling with Unus Annus. Every single day at 12 p.m., they would upload their video. Like, a break from everything that was going on out there. But it was also really upsetting. The internet is possibly forever, but it could also disappear tomorrow. Fickle and delicate. But the internet's a part of our lives now, whether we like it or not. And Unus Annus and Till Death Do Us Blart really encapsulate what can be done on the internet and how it can play with the constraints of what we know as, like, rules. Like, the internet is forever. But what does that actually mean? Is it like everything is stored? Well, of course everything is stored, but things can just disappear like that easily. In the sense that Death Blart, we don't know. Man, do you know? Do you know what's gonna happen in 5 years? According to the internet? No. Could any of you predicted Hawk Tuah? I don't think so. Phones are getting tinier, laptops are shrinking, and maybe soon I'll be watching Till Death Do Us Blart on the little chip that they put in my brain.